and architecture of MDG. These are the topics that we have discussed so far. So let me give a quick recap of the high-level process flow of MDG, deployment options, and storage modes. So the next 5 minutes would be in the context of, for the people who joined today to understand what MDG is and what the data model, what we are discussing today, what is the role of data model that we are discussing today. Yeah. So if you have any questions at a high level, let me know in between.
Karthik, one more question from my side, Surya. So, will you be teaching us on S4 HANA or else ECC, the MDG part?
I'll be teaching you on S4 HANA, but you would be practicing on ECC.
ECC, okay.
Yeah.
And
There are
what
no
about this?
differences between S4 HANA and ECC in terms of MDG.
Okay. So, you mean to say almost the T codes could be the same kind, right? Almost all T codes works in ECC and HANA.
Everything is same in S4 HANA and MDG. MDG on ECC and MDG on S4 HANA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the installation part? Like, see, there are two types, like where we have an online server access, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is fine. Like we need to take a license and we should proceed. And is there possible or else can you help us, like, where someone can install on our machine itself such that, no need of going for the license? Like, what is the process for that? So what do you suggest
Install.
again?
Sorry, I didn't get that. So install on your
Yeah,
laptop means for
correct.
practice you wanted MDG server.
Correct. See, because I'll say the example I'll give like ECC. If I take an ECC, I can install on my machine, right? I don't require every month to go for some server access online and everything.
So till EHP 7
Mm-hmm.
or EHP 6 and 7, you can install MDG. It's not about MDG. You can install EHP 6 or EHP 7 on your personal laptop if
Mm-hmm.
your laptop has, say, 8 GB RAM,
Okay.
4 to 8 GB RAM.
Okay.
But if you want to install EHP 8,
Okay.
right, it
Mm-hmm.
requires 16 GB RAM.
Okay.
It's a hardware limitation. If you have this 16 GB RAM, yes, I can suggest you some of the hardware vendors that you can use your MDG, but you don't get MDG on S4 HANA.
MDG on S4 HANA. Okay.
You don't get that version.
What is the
You
hard
would
disk capacity that required for EHP 6, 7, and 8? Let's go with 6 and 7.
EHP 6 and 7 will go for, you would require 300 GB for the VMware.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And then you will get MDG of 7.0 on this.
So is it would be MDG or MDM?
MDG.
MDG. Okay.
Again, you will not expect the speed of the system what you are getting it online.
Okay. So MDG, the concept wise, like 6, 7, and 8 would be the same. I
No.
mean, definitely there would be small changes.
Yeah. So if you ask that, yeah, it would be more or less same. 95% it is same.
Same. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sorry guys, interrupting the class, but yeah, it would be help everyone. That's the reason. Yep. Go ahead, sir.
So, yeah. So let's say if customer wants to implement MDG, what would happen? He would be having a business process layer where his SAP ECC box is available, and maybe an outlet where he is selling his cars, maybe a Mercedes-Benz outlet. Now he has a customer who walk in and he would like to do a sales order for the customer. So what he will do, he will log in into MDG application via URL. Then he'll maintain all the data in the MDG application and he'll submit the request. Then it will go to the validation, the next level, customer specialist. He will verify whether the customer information has been accurate, all the mandatory fields are filled, the customer external into a company code, all these details he will be verifying. Sometimes if the address information is missing, he might actually go to the external services and get the address information of a customer. Let's say if customer bank information is missing or bank information is incorrect, he'll just pass IBAN number, customer IBAN number to a agency, then they'll get the complete bank information. Or they might not be going to the external services, they might be having some internal rules, validations, derivations implemented as as a piece of logic in the system somewhere else. They'll trigger that logic to derive that missing information. And it'll make sure all the fields are authorized to see, validate that information, and they'll perform duplicate checks. Once all the data is clear, complete, meeting at most standards of the master data of a customer master, then it will be finalize the processing and sending it to approver. Now approver will talk with the various stakeholders in the business and see the need of the customer to be created, or is it the right time to create the customer. All the decisions will be taken care by this final level of customer relationship managers, and then they'll approve the request. Once it is approved, it will replicate the data back to the connected SAP systems. It may be non-SAP systems as well. It will send the data to SAP ECC box, or it can send the data to third-party systems, or it can be send the data to some of the business suite systems. For the replication, we have various techniques. We have server services, we have RFCs, we have IDOCs to replicate the data. We can select the medium through which we would like to replicate the data based on what my target system is. Now the replication can be automatic or it can be manual. Now once the data is sent to the connected systems, then if there are any local rules or local fields to be updated specific to those business instance systems, then that would be derived based on the concept called adaptation, local adaptation. Those derivations are specific inside that system, does not have any impact globally. This is the process flow of MDG. Any questions here?
So actually, Karthik, this validation is at system level or just business level validation? Like it's a part of the MDG process, parts of the MDG flow. Like it will be in the system as well, or like it's just a data validation from the user end?
It's a combination of both. It's a system level validations. Let's say you implement some validations on MM01, material creation. Okay, you're not authorized to extend a material to say plant 002. The same validations will be available in MDG. Plus,
Okay.
you can add more additional validations on the MDG application.
Hello, Patty.
Yeah.
Have you covered that adaptation and enrichment, this part?
Yes, not yet covered, we'll be covering it.
Okay,
We'll be covering them as part of our data quality functions.
okay, okay.
We will cover them, yeah. So this is the process flow. And we'll walk through the deployment options and the storage modes. This will be a ECC system where initially basis will create the system profiling data and user IDs, authorizations, and then your functional team will come and create the organization data. Then the master data management team will come and create the master data. Then finally end users will generate the transaction data, right? Then if customer wants to implement MDG, so he'll purchase MDG software and he'll get the staging area when he purchases the software. The staging area consists of inactive area and active area. Inactive area is responsible to hold the requests which are in approval process. Active area is responsible to hold the data which is approved. That means in process of approval, approved information. Yeah. Then this software is installed on the ECC system. So MDG software does not understand what is the company code, what is the plant, what is the exchange rate, what is the currency code, what are the cities, what are the countries. It does not have any placeholder to read the values. It has to read those values, those configurations from ECC and present those configurations in MDG UIs. In MDG system, then there will be some approval process which runs, the one which we discussed. Finally, after approval, the data will replicate back to ECC system. So where MDG is installed on the ECC system, that system will tag it as MDG system. Now, if MDG software is installed on operational ECC, in the previous slide we said it's an ECC system. Now we are saying it's an operational ECC. So what do we mean by operational ECC? Where there are transactions which are posted. Like invoice, POs, sales orders, PRs, purchase request, so on, settlements. Where the business is used a system to handle the day-to-day transactions, we'll call it as an operational ECC system. And if on top of that operational ECC MDG software is installed, we call it as MDG core deployment option. But if there is a new instance which is created, now if we are taking an example of MDG on S4HANA, S4HANA by default it comes with MDG software. There is no additional installation required. So that's why this is, you are seeing within the box of S4HANA. Then you move all the data from basis data and configuration data, I mean to say organization data and master data to MDG on S4HANA instance. Then we'll call it like central MDG on S4HANA. You can also take it as operational ECC, where you have ECC box. On top of that, you install MDG. So it can be this scenario or the previous scenario which we discussed. If it is operational system on ECC, this is how the system will look like. On MDG system, you can have, sorry, on a ECC system, you can have MDG system. Then the process would continue same. MDG data will be read from MDG ECC system. There it will be an approval process. After approval, the data will be replicated back to my MDG ECC system. But here, the data is not available on my operational ECC. There will be one more step of replication which will move the data from my operational ECC to, MDG ECC to my operational ECC system. So now this process of deployment option landscape is called as MDG hub deployment option. Now we are taking only one-to-one relationship here. We can have one-to-many relationship. So you have operational ECC for US box, you have operational ECC for UK box, you have for operational ECC for say for India box. One MDG system can provide its services to various connected operational ECC systems. Now this deployment box can be anything. It can be a ECC version or it can be an S4HANA version. Now we'll talk about the reuse mode. The requester will submit a new material creation. The material is available in a inactive area of MDG. Then it goes to the steward for the validation. Then after approver approves the request, the expectation is data will go from inactive area of MDG to active area of ECC table, MARA. So after approval, there is no data available in MDG. We don't require any additional replication here. If it is a hub deployment scenario, if your data is available in a different system, then we'll replicate it from MDG ECC system to your one SAP system. That's just a moment. I'll say it's like. In the flex mode, the requester will submit a cost center. It will go to the steward for the validation. After approval, the data is moving from inactive area of MDG to active area of MDG. And from active area of MDG to my CSKS table. So there are two steps involved here. From here again, if you want to replicate the data, we will replicate the data to that operational ECC system if it is a hub deployment model. Else, if it is a co-deployment model, the data will be available in CSKS table. So this is a high-level business scenario which happens in terms of deployment options versus storage modes. If we understood this process, this is a flex storage mode, and the previous one where the data will actually move from inactive area of MDG to directly active area of ECC. This is the reuse mode. So the previous session we have discussed in more details about how the data will move, how the configurations will be available in terms of hub deployment options, core deployment options. I would request you to go back and visit those recordings and see if you guys can ask any questions from those topics. So far at high level, whatever we have went through, do we have any questions?
Karthik, I have a question here. Like in this flex mode, when the data is getting approved uh, by the governance team and or the stewards or the approvers sitting there, and the data is moving to the this green box from that gray box, and then thereafter it is moving to CSKS table. So is there someone who is configuring that part to the CSKS table in MDG?
Right. We will be configuring that in the data replication framework.
So meaning there will be two-way replication. So one person will be, or the MDG functional team will be configuring the data to CSKS table, and then the data is getting replicated to one SAP ECC system automatically.
This would also be an explicit replication. So we have automatic way of doing this replication. We have manual way of doing this replication as well.
Right.
So yeah, it can be handled automatically or manually. So users will have an option to select a record and replicate to whatever the system that they would like to replicate.
Okay.
Karthik, we have two modes, flex mode and reuse mode. So flex mode, you told all time dependent data, we are going with the flex mode, and the material master, vendor master, we are going with reuse mode. So if some case, is it possible vendor master data, all the things go for flex mode is possible?
No.
If you're trying to configure, it will give any error, that I want to know.
It won't give you any error, but the application will not work.
Fine, thank you.
The solution is delivered as with this storage mode, which is fixed. SAP has delivered. Finance are into flex and remaining solutions are into reuse mode.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we cannot change the solution behavior at the storage mode level. Now, we have MDG, IMG as a decode. So far we have went through SFW5, to activate MDG solution, and we have SICF, as a service. Then we came to MDG, IMG, configure MDG solutions. This is functional or technical. Both of them would be using the same T code. We have only one T code called MDG, IMG. So this is the playground for us. Almost all the configurations, 98% of the configurations are part of this T code. We hardly have MDG requires hardly 5 to 6 transaction codes for us to verify the logs or processes or troubleshooting and other stuff. So can anyone help me what a business function, business configuration sits at? What do you mean by business functions?
Organization data or the
No?
Business function means even vendor master, customer master, all the things comes under one particular object. So via that object, we can activate all the things.
Okay. Yeah. So
So via business function only we able to activate all the master data things, because all the master data might be in different name of the business function.
okay. And the BC sets? No idea. I hope we discussed
And
this in the previous session, right? Business functions and BC sets. How do we activate them? People from the previous session? Because I don't remember that we discussed it.
Karthik, it was not discussed.
Okay, fine. So let's go to the portal where we can see the list of business functions to be activated. Now all we have done is, let's say this is the box that is given for us. How do we identify the MDG version? We'll go to status and we'll go to system data, and here we'll see if there is MDG APPL is available. If it is available, that means MDG is installed, and based on this version 618, we can classify it as MDG 7.0. Now, if MDG APPL is 618, that means 7.0, 607, 6.1, 619, 8.0, and it is 620, it's 9.0, 621, 9.1, and 622, 9.2. And these versions, if you are seeing 6 series, that means your MDG is sitting on ECC box. Now if you are looking at MDG APPL, which has a series of 801 9.0 version, 802 9.1 version, 803 9.2 version. That means your MDG is installed on S4HANA. You can understand MDG version on S4HANA systems in two ways. If you have 1610, you can say it's 9.0, 1709, 9.1, 1809 and 1909, it's 9.2. You can either take it in that way, or you can look at the MDG application components level to understand the versions of MDG. This is one way to identify versions based on system status. Now there is one more way to identify based on business foundation. Now, business foundation is a collection of business functions. Foundation is a collection of business functions. Now, business function is collection of switches. Now, what is a switch? Switch is a functionality or it is a feature to enable or disable a functionality in SAP. Not related to MDG at all. It's common across the SAP application landscape. There is a piece of code which will run when you activate the switch, or when you disable the switch, the piece of code would not run. That's the concept of switch. Now, all the switches are part of the business functions. Now, if you activate one business function, it will activate all the switches part of the business function. If you deactivate the business function, it will deactivate all the switches part of the business function. And the foundations are, if you activate one business foundation, it will activate multiple business functions. One business foundation has many business functions. It's 1:n relationship. One business function will have 1:n relationship of switches. Now, what is the business configuration sets? Any idea? Because this is not a part of MDG. This is a part of, SAP implementation methodologies. Some of the MDG, some of the SAP configurations will be actually activated using business configuration sets. So a BC set is a tool or is a file which contains table entries. used to move table entries from one system to another system without the transportation path. So generally, moving the SPRO configurations from one system to other system, what are the ways that we have? One functional consultant can copy the list of SPRO enters from one system to other system. It's a manual way of doing it. Or basis activity. Log entries in a tier and move it. Right? We might have come across these two ways, manual way or the basis approach. One more way called basis sets. So generally, most of the rollout projects will have the common configurations, right? In SPRO, whatever the configurations they maintain, almost 90% of the configurations will be common in other geographical locations. So in those rollout projects, they'll be using the BCSets concept. Let me show you how it works.
Hello, Karthik.
Yeah.
So in that list, so which one, what is the serial? Means which one you have to take first, then second? Is there any sequence? Which one you have to take?
Which part? BCSets or the business functions?
No. Suppose which suppose is a part of implementation you tell. So which what is the sequence? Means like switches is there, BC set is there.
Right, we'll discuss that. We'll be discussing it.
One more thing. This is the part of basis or our part, our responsibility.
This would be part of a functional consultant role.
Okay.
So this is the tool to create a business configuration set. Okay, now let's
Karthik,
say
sorry, I didn't get the T code. What's the T code?
SCPR2.
SCPR 3 or 2? Okay, 2.
Karthik, we told the via GCSS, we are moving the data from one table to another table.
Correct.
So only for SAP or non-SAP system also we able to do?
Only for SAP.
Fine.
Cross applications, process tools, master data governance. So when SAP has developed a solution in MDG AMG framework, right? So they have developed a finance solution, they have developed a business partner solution. Now they'll go to the data model. So they'll select the table view and they'll find the list of, the data model entries. These are few entries.
Karthik,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, uh, correct me if I'm wrong here. So this is something which we are doing in SPR2. We are making arrangements before we are implementing MDG. So before getting MDG implemented, we are making arrangements by using SPR2 in SAP,
No, no,
in
no.
EP1.
We are not doing it before as an implementation step. We are trying to understand what SAP would have done to help us implement a solution. Understand that I am SAP, you are an
Mm-hmm.
implementation partner. Okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So now what I am doing, I am trying to generate a BC set file as an SAP part, as an SAP. I'm just
Okay.
showing you what I will be doing it in my system.
Okay.
So here's some namespace issue is coming up. So once I select these records and click on save, that I'll get a file to be generated. Let me go to some other. Slash in SCP add to SAP add 3 create Z MDG save. Yeah, so the busy set is created. Then I'll go to this data model. Now I'll save this. So this busy set can be downloaded. Download busy set. Save. Now we got a busy set file, right? So this file can be again uploaded into the system using upload tool. Once it is uploaded using SAP R3, then we go to SCPR20T code, and here we activate the basis set. Now system will ask, how do you like to activate the basis set? You would like to overwrite, delete the values and all the stuff. So SAP will be delivering the basis set as part of a software component. Whenever you purchase the software, they'll get a basis set as part of the pack file. So we don't need to do any upload here. Now, as part of a business function, it can be collection of switches, and it can also have some business configuration sets. A business function is a collection of number of switches and the business configuration sets. So we'll go to the SAP portal. We'll select in which version we are going to implement. And then we go to which solution we are going to implement here. Customer material finance. And we'll take this as a reference, the configuration master data for material, and then we start working on the implementation. So your implementation day one will start from here. The configuration of master data governance will give us the list of business functions to be activated. MDG business function 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if your business function is on MDG underscore foundation underscore 6, then that means you are implementing MDG 8.0. So we understood the business configuration set now. Then we'll go to
One thing, like you said that if the foundation is at 6, we need to activate 8.0. So it means that before that or only 8.0 if we'll activate it will work.
all the previous business functions to be activated.
Okay, all the previous. Okay, thank you.
So in fact you cannot activate 8. System will throw you a warning, not warning, error, saying that this dependent business function 7 is not activated. See now here if you look at, we are seeing the enterprise extension and enterprise business functions. Right?
Sorry, Karthik, what's the T code for this?
SFW5. SFW5.
Hello, Karthik. In what situation you need to do all the things? This you tell me this is not part of implementation, or
No, this is part of implementation.
So this is the initial stage, okay?
Yeah. So very fresh system you got MDG software installed and given to you to implement MDG.
So okay.
Okay. Then we go to the configuration guide, and they will give us the list of business functions to be activated. There are few set of business functions which is related to the application framework, MDG framework, which are generic across the solutions. For finance you require them, for material you require them, For customer, you require them. And there are domain-specific business functions only related to material master.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So here this is the foundation, enterprise business extension, or the label which you're seeing, enterprise business function. These are foundations. These two are foundations. And if I expand this foundation, whatever I'm seeing here, these are business functions. Now, you can see that there are some descriptions for each foundation, generic functions. Actually here, do not get confused. The labels itself, somehow there is a mismatch. SAP has done a mistake here. These are business functions but labeled as foundations. If you look at the description, they mention like a function, but the name they have given as a business foundation, MDG underscore foundation. It's wrong. Similarly, if you look at these two, these are business foundations, not functions. If you look at the documentation of business functions, foundations, will understand that these two are business foundations. A foundation will have the list of business functions. Now we are looking at MDG underscore foundation 1. 2, 3 and 4 and 5. Based on the description, you will understand which foundation we need to activate. So if I activate foundation 5, that means I'm implementing MDG 7.0. Now if we go to 7.0 material master, there should be 7.0 also here. If we go to 7.0, we can see this list only limited to foundation 5. Now, this is a very sensitive T code. Being a functional or technical consultants, we don't get access to this in a production environment. Not about production, even from the development box, we don't get access to this. We need to list out all the business functions and give it to SAP. Then they'll come and activate this. Anything which you are seeing in a bulb which is in yellow color, that means it's already activated. Now the bulb which is black one, hashed color, it is inactive. They'll select the record and say activate changes. It will start working in the system. We need to be a bit cautious here that If you are seeing a bulb indicator, once it is activated, cannot be reverted back. Only system has to go back to the previous version with the backup, which is not possible in practical. Now, there is one more indicator. Example, this one. This can be activated and deactivated. That's why we call them as reversible business functions. You can see the bracket. It's reversible. We can activate the solution and we can deactivate the solution. But unfortunately, all our MDG functions are non-reversible business functions. So we cannot add a business function which is not necessary in our implementation. We should be 200% sure what we are giving a list of basis would require as part of an implementation scope. Now, what a business function will come with? Now I select this material, MDG underscore material. I'm going into the browser. So in the switch browser, we can see what is the content that the business function is carrying. Now I'll open this MDG underscore foundation. It is trying to give us certain switches. See, a function is a business function is a collection of multiple switches, and it's a business function but labeled as business foundation. Now it says MDGF infrastructure. It is giving us MDG AMG node, data replication framework node. All these views are being enabled. Similarly, apart from the switches, it will also have the BC sets. So the moment you activate MDG underscore material node is a business function, it will insert a node called master data governance for material. This node will be inserted when we activate the business function called MDG underscore material. Now, there are some BC sets here which we can see. This BC set has a list of records. In this table, these are the records which are part of the BC set. When you activate this BC set, those table entries will be updated in the system. Activation completed. Now, this activation of BC set will be a step-by-step process. So what SAP has done, instead of us to do this business functions BC sets activation, they have included the BC sets as part of a business function. So the moment we activate the business function, automatically the list of BC sets part of the business function will be activated. You activate this, the switches and the BC sets part of the business function will be automatically activated. So here, this is one way of identifying MDG version based on the business function approach. Looking at the description of business function, we can identify.
Karthik, yeah, I'm Srivi here. So this action lies with SAP only, right?
Right?
So this activation part, we have to inform to the SAP so that
No,
they are going to activate it. Yeah.
no. Why would SAP will come here? This is a basis activity.
Okay.
Once you purchase the software with them, it's done.
Okay.
So Karthik, just in layman terms, the BC set is the configuration table that needs to be activated in the system.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not table. There's a correction. It's a table entries.
Table entries. Okay.
Right. It will carry the
The
table
table.
entries. You
Okay, so the
activate the
tables
BC
will
set,
already be
it will
there in
insert the
the. Okay. Okay.
it will insert the records in the table.
Okay.
Now, there are some services which has to be activated. Services to be activated for MDG Web Pro applications. The T code is SSCF. These are the service names, nothing but a MDG UI application which runs in a URL, right? An end user application runs in a URL. That means it is somehow related to an internet browser. So all those, when I say SICF, ICF stands for Internet Communication Framework. So we have some MDG UI applications runs on a web browser. To be activated here. These are the list of application services. Some of them are specific to customer supplier BP, some of them are specific to MM, some of them are specific to controlling objects. Based on this checkbox, we'll enable them. Now this is common for all of the solutions. That means it's a generic application. This is also generic. Now this part is related to material master. So how do we activate? Let's copy the service name. Go to the system. SICF is the T code. Give the service name. Execute. It will give the service name here. They'll come and activate the service here. Like say deactivate. If it is deactivate, you can see that it is not highlighted, and I can come and activate the service. It's activated now. Again, this task is also performed by basis. Likewise, we'll give the complete list to them based on our need to activate them.
Karthik, can we identify which one is for material, which one is for finance web services that we need to activate from this link? I mean, how to identify that?
A service, if it is related to material, you will see MDG underscore M checkbox. Now there is this application, right? Looking at the name or the description, you cannot identify. Sometimes, yeah, they're saying here BP. Let's take an example of MDG change request graph analysis. Is this generic or specific to material? We'll look at the checkbox and then understand. Got it. Was it your question? Hello? Am I audible? Sorry.
Yes, Karthik.
Okay. So based on the checkboxes, we'll filter what are relevant for material, what are relevant for business partner, finance objects.
So Karthik, Satish here.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a part of basis, right? So we don't access the SICF code. So as a functional or technical, how to identify whether the service has been activated in the system or not?
Okay. They will be giving us a display access if you request, or they'll be sharing you the list of services which are activated or not.
So we have to cross check whether this has been.
Talk with the basis. Collaboration between you and basis is must.
So from our end, if we have display access, we can check. Otherwise, there is no other alternative, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
First, identify MDG version which we are working. Share the SACF services to basis. Sorry, SACF. Activate the business functions with basis. Then verify data model. So in the configuration grid, after activating the business functions, they're asking to set up search, roles, some processes. All those things are easy if we go with the documentation. But to understand the role of each and every task, how it works, we'll be stopping this reference of document, because from now on we'll be focusing on individual topics like data model, how we'll develop a data model. Because the data model he is given for us as a BC set. SAP is giving all the interest. We don't understand how the data model will function if we follow the steps. I will go to MDG AMG transaction code, general settings, the data model.
Karthik.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, is there any guide for these steps before we are getting into data model? So the steps, all the steps which you have just told us,
No,
will
same
we
portal.
be practicing? Will we be practicing it before going ahead? Or
No, these you cannot practice it because, as I said, it's one-time activity in the system. All these business functions have been already enabled.
okay, so we just need to activate them the way you just told us.
Right.
in order to memorize those steps, like how you have done those, like.
No, don't need to memorize them. Those are part of
Mhm.
those are part of the sequence. So they have given the T codes, transactions, T code, and they're asking us to choose the service. All detailed steps have been mentioned here.
Okay.
Open the transactions of WY. You'll get all the T codes how to do in this configuration step itself.
Hello, Karthik.
Mm-hmm.
One question. If suppose there is MDG file upload, one services is there. I saw,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Suppose that service is not activated or some, so
Mm-hmm.
what is the error? How you know? Is there any error coming or how you know?
Yeah, your application will not run.
Okay, it's not run, huh?
It will not run in the browser. It says the service inactive for an error.
So suppose some T code is not, sorry, means that run means we have to need to check the services whether active or not.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So the implementation steps comes with the chapter 1 data model. Using the data model, we'll generate the staging area. Like we are creating some tables as a layman. Once the tables are created, we are working on chapter 2 user interface. Using some UIs, we'll read and push the data into those staging tables. Using chapter 3, we will create a approval process scenario. Because MDG UI is available now, now we need to build a process on those UIs. In chapter 4, we will restrict the people to work on MDG based on their roles. The process works also on roles. The requester has a different rules enabled, UIs enabled, authority checks enabled. A specialist has different. And then we'll run a newly created scenario. Right? So first we'll be discussing about the data model now. Before we go to the data model, I just wanted to give you again an introduction or glance about the architecture principle of active and inactive data. To enable the master data governance process, MDG separates active data and inactive data. Active data is ready to be used by applications, can be distributed to client. Inactive data is not yet approved, currently part of a change request. And there are two separate storage locations to handle active and inactive data. That is active area, which holds active data, staging area or inactive area as well. Holds the data during the change request process before approval. So you have two sets of data and you have two sets of areas to handle those data types. And for the optimal integration into SAP Business Suite, MDG allows two modes. That's reuse mode, generated, active area, flex mode. So what is the reuse active area? Existing structures of the applications are used. For example, MDG for material make use of Mara table in ECC to store the approved record, and BUT000 for business partner record. And for the flex mode, tables defined as a MDG tables as defined in MDG data model are used to store the active data. That means the generated staging area will itself store the active data.
Karthik, that means if I create one material 1000 in MDG, after it approved, it will be stored in ECC, correct?
Correct.
For in flex mode, suppose that 1000 material, where it will be stored?
It will be storing in MDG tables.
Okay, not in ECC Mara, eh? Okay.
Not in ECC. No, Mara, correct.
So how it go to the then ECC?
We need to trigger the data replication framework.
Okay. For that you need, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Karthik, will these staging tables are fixed? I mean to say, any like transparent tables predefined for a particular function, or
No, these are not predefined. These are transparent tables. Then how do we create the staging table in MDG? Even though it's a transparent table, we don't use a SC11 to create the transparent tables. Answer is no for that. We go to a MDG AMG node, and from there we'll maintain some data model, entities and attributes and relationships between them, and activate the data model. That will generate the list of transparent tables. So here the important point to be noted. The tables which are generated for MDG will vary from development to quality to production systems. You may not see the same table name which is there in development is same as in quality and same as in production. In fact, the staging table names are local objects. Those are not transportable. The tables which are generated after activation of data model are the local objects which will be part of the same system. When your data model configuration moves to the quality system, there again they will be generating some backend staging tables.
Karthik, in quality and production also we have to do manually for this activity?
No, this will automatically activate the staging area. There are some cutover activities which we need to perform.
Fine.
Yeah.
So Karthik, basically you were saying is, if you're talking about a company code table or a trading partner table,
no,
in
not those
staging
tables.
area. Okay.
MDG will create a staging table /1m / some name to hold the inactive data of material master.
Got it. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
That table name will not be same. So that means
Makes sense.
we are prohibited to write any select statements or insert statements on the staging tables.
So
It might work in development system, but it might not work in a quality system.
But Karthik, but this is only for flex mode, okay?
No, it is for both flex and reuse.
Okay, for reuse, but reuse Mara use na?
No, I'm saying before approval process.
Okay, before approval process. Okay.
Yeah. So someone has to insert the data into the staging table.
Okay.
right? So never ever write any select statements on the staging table names. So that's where our session has a MDG coding methodologies to do it. Certain libraries given by SAP.
So in flex mode, after approve where the data store?
In the staging table itself.
Oh, in staging cell itself, huh? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So here, if the data model has an active area which is space, or if it is MDG, then that means it's a flex mode. If the data model has an active area space or MDG, then it's a flex mode. Then after anything, whatever you are seeing here, partner or material or whatever it is, it's a reuse mode. That's how we'll identify which solution is in flex mode and which solution is in reuse mode.
So we mean to say in flex mode, both unapproved and approved data will be stored only staging tables, eh?
Correct.
Okay.
Karthik, but like correct me if I'm wrong, like but this flex mode and reuse mode is decided at the beginning of the system installation, right?
It's not decided by us, it's decided by the solution developers.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah,
so it may either be in flex mode or reuse mode.
correct.
So in that case, if any data object, I mean data model or table, the staging table is created, it might either have an entry in active area or it might not have an entry. So it's
Correct.
on or off, right? Okay, yeah, thank you.
Karthik, to be precise, we only use flex mode for MDGF and the
Correct.
reuse for the rest of, yeah.
So here I would like to stop for the today's discussion because we need to understand what are entities and attributes. And that part of entity and attributes discussion would require a next half an hour of
Hello.
discussion time to go with, yeah?
Karthik, this is my first class.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have some knowledge on MDG. Recently I got an opportunity to freelance an MDG project in my friend's company. It's about an access class. I'm implementing an access class. So what are the minimum methods to be implemented in it? Actually, I implemented only save method in it. While approving the request, I'm getting change request activation error. What are the possibility errors in it?
Okay. So first thing we'll keep in bear in mind that we are not going to address any project specific issues here.
Okay.
Okay. Because we cannot jump on access class when we are going a flow of the data model discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. So this question I will be answering at the last. Yeah. Once
Okay.
once we listen to any questions from different people now here. Okay. So there was a discussion which happened about the flex mode and reuse mode in an Excel sheet the last week. I would request all the participants to go and listen to the discussion. Then you'll understand the better picture of what is flex mode and reuse mode. inverses of hub and core deployments. That knowledge is really important for us to go further in the discussions of the data model creation. If you didn't get that session recording, I would request you check with the Accusoft team. They'll be definitely sharing it with you. Okay. Any questions from the today's session?
Yes, Karthik, can we get this configuration links that we need to refer?
Yeah. As I told you, after this session, you'll be getting it. The configuration links and the material. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think I just only have two questions. Yeah. First, by the time we will be covering data model, then UI, process, integration and derivation part. So will we be getting a test every time we are done with those process steps? And
I'll be giving you assignments. Assignments are planned.
Perfect. And
Yes.
okay, cool, perfect. And the second question would be, once we are done with the whole part of our training, at the end will we be doing a complete project as a practice, or so that we would be able to understand or correlate the steps step by step?
No. So the assignment itself will turn as a project. So we'll be doing the data model as an assignment. Next, when we do a UI model, that UI model will link to the data model which you have done as an assignment.
Okay.
Then we define the process modeling which will be sitting on a UI model. So finally, at the end of this course, with various assignments, you will be completely developing a solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you can put in your resume and go for any interview.
Okay. So will that be a finance-based project or illustrations, or material or vendor, customer?
I'll give you equipment master.
I'm sorry?
Equipment.
I
Equipment
didn't get that.
master. Equipment master, plant maintenance.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Correct, Satish here.
Mhm.
So for FI, there is one data model already, right? Is there any chance do we create any other data model for FI in real time?
Let's say the finance model in FI you have controlling objects, right?
Yeah.
You do have WBS as a controlling object. Ideally,
Yes.
WBS is classified as controlling, but not given as part of an SAP solution.
Okay.
So you would require to build a custom solution. Similarly, you have financial fixed assets in finance. You don't have a solution for financial fixed assets. Then you will
So
develop a
that,
solution.
okay, for that scenarios, we'll create a new data model and we'll proceed the process as part of the implementation, right?
Correct. Not only that, there are various scenarios that you'll go for a solution. So example, you want to purchase the license of material master. MDG Material Master from SAP.
Okay.
Okay, they might be charging around 2 to 3 crore rupees in Indian currency to take that solution. Do they really want to invest that much of amount for a small solution? They are not looking to govern all the attributes of Metal Master. They are like governing to uh, towards the fields like long descriptions or description classifications, basic unit of measure and plant data.
Okay.
Then instead of purchasing a solution what you don't want, you will start up with a custom solution what you want
Okay.
and say like material light application, a custom solution.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
During the practice time, if you're getting some clarification, if you're getting some dollars, how to
Sorry,
connect
I could
with
not
you?
hear.
No, during the practice time, if I'm getting any clarification doors, how to connect with you? With this, any mail ID is there?
You will connect to Akisoft to forward me the questions. They'll connect both of
Okay,
us.
fine.
Okay then. I think I would request all the participants to spend some time during this week. This is really important you to go back to that session which I was talking about the deployment options, and then we'll start the data model discussion.
Karthik, tomorrow we have class.
No, tomorrow we do not have a session.
Oh, so because
Yeah.
they told 40 days and then
Yeah. So right now I'm in an on-site engagement. I'm supposed to
okay,
travel last Thursday itself to India, but there is a delay. So Sunday I have to go office and submit some of the proposals to them. So
so
I'm there in
next
the
week
middle.
onwards, so next week
Next
onwards
week
it will
onwards,
be in Saturday, Sunday.
yeah, it will be Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
So tomorrow no class, okay?
Tomorrow no class.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, the question I got it from one of the participant is you're getting an activation error, right? So that error will be possible from same method of your access class.
Yes, Karthik.
So in the same method, you should start, debugging where you're raising an error message. Access class has a exporting parameter called et_message.
Okay.
So somewhere that et_message is being populated with the error message. You need to find out the place where it's been populated.
Okay. Actually, in same method, debugger is not raising now.
Okay, so it will trigger when you put your breakpoint as a workflow batch user.
Okay.
WF_batch. You need to change your breakpoint with WF_batch user and put an external breakpoint.